Syria's new government signed a deal with the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces to merge forces. That's according to the Syrian presidency Monday, releasing video showing interim Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa and SDF commander Mazloum Abdi signing the deal. It's a major step in Sharaa's goal to unite Syria, which had seen 14 years of conflict and the collapse of Bashar al-Assad's regime in December. The agreement included a complete end of hostilities and for SDF-controlled civilian and military institutions, which include an airport, oil and gas fields, to become part of the Damascus administration. In the northeastern city of Qomishlu, there were celebrations after the deal. Cars full of cheering people cruised through the streets in early Tuesday.
The people needed an agreement like this. The world is tired of displacement and war, so we are happy with this agreement because it will bring peace to a new democratic Syria.
The US-backed SDF has been in conflict with Turkey-backed armed groups in northern Syria for years. That conflict has rumbled on since Assad was toppled. There was no immediate comment on the deal from Turkey, which is a close ally of Sharaa. Analysts say SDF leaders see Monday's agreement as a hedge against the risk of the Trump administration suddenly withdrawing US forces, which have helped SDF counter the Islamic State in Syria for a decade. The accord came at another critical moment. Syrian authorities face an insurgency in the coastal region of western Syria by loyalist remnants of Assad's regime. Violence has spiraled in the past week, and there were reports of large numbers of civilians of Assad's Alawite sect killed in sectarian reprisals. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Sunday condemned the killings. In a Reuters interview Monday, Sharaa said mass killings of Alawites were a threat to his mission to unite Syria. He promised to punish those responsible, including his own allies, if necessary.
Russian forces advanced further in their efforts to retake the Kursk region on Monday, threatening to encircle thousands of Ukrainian soldiers, just as Kyiv prepared for talks with top U.S. diplomats in Saudi Arabia. This video, released on Saturday by Ukraine's air assault forces, is said to show Ukrainian artillery fire targeting Russian special forces, who crept for miles through a gas pipeline to surprise Ukrainian troops holding Russian territory near Syria. Reuters was able to verify the location and that a gas pipeline runs underground there. This video, said to show Russian troops inside the tunnel, was posted on social media. In it, the soldiers reference March 8th and that they're heading towards Syria, though the date and location were not fully verifiable. Russian forces captured 3 more settlements in the area on Sunday after using the pipeline. By encircling Ukrainian soldiers, they aim to force them either to flee or to surrender in western Russia. Ukraine's air assault forces said in a post accompanying the video that enemy losses were high around Syria. Reuters could not independently verify that. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was heading to Saudi Arabia for talks at a critical time for Kyiv. It will be the first official meeting between US and Ukrainian officials since a disastrous encounter between Zelensky and President Donald Trump in the Oval Office.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
Zelensky is expected to meet the Saudi Crown Prince, but has said he will not attend the talks with US negotiators, instead sending top officials including his chief of staff and foreign and defense ministers. They're expected to focus on a bilateral minerals deal and how to end the war. Trump is pressing for a swift end to the conflict and has upended US policy by pausing military aid to Ukraine and engaging directly with Moscow, raising fears among European leaders that Ukraine will lose the war.
With respect to President Trump, I'm not yet Prime Minister. His interlocutor is Prime Minister Trudeau, and I look forward to the opportunity. We will. As I said, I just spoke with the Prime Minister at length on issues around the transition. It'll be quick. We'll be coming back to you soon. The good news is that you will be seeing probably more of me than you want, and you will have other opportunities, and we'll be making an announcement on that. Exactly.
What did you tell caucus today?
What did I tell caucus today? So this is important. The first thing, I went to caucus today because you start as you mean to go on. And we are a Liberal team, and so it's incredibly important for me to hear directly from the members of caucus the concerns of Canadians on the ground, their priorities. As I said last night, they're the voices of their communities and they're the conscience of the party. There's tremendous energy in that group. We know this is a crucial time for our country. We're united to serve Canadians, and we will build this country.
Thousands of flights cancelled and over 500,000 people hit on Monday as German airport workers staged a major 24-hour strike in a dispute about pay. The operator of Frankfurt Airport, Germany's busiest, said no passenger flights would depart from there on Monday, and some delays and cancellations could roll over into Tuesday. Heinrich Nerpfler was a stranded passenger.
We had to leave Switzerland a day early and then spend the night here in Frankfurt. And now we're waiting to check in at another airport. And I think it's a shame that a strike is called at such short notice.
The strike, called by the Verdi Union on Friday, impacts 13 airports across the country, including Munich, Berlin and Düsseldorf. The union escalated action after staging several walkouts last month. Matthias Vernemer is the Verdi Union spokesperson.
The airports are part of the public sector, and we have the collective bargaining round for the public sector with over 2.5 million employees. The colleagues simply want to see an offer for the third round of negotiations in order to strive for better working conditions and higher wages.
Verdi is demanding an 8% wage increase, or at least an increase of $380 more per month. That's as well as higher bonuses and additional time off. Employers have rejected the demands as unaffordable. Negotiations are due to continue later this month.
The Trump administration does not seem to be engaging in talks to avoid trade conflict with the European Union. That's according to the EU's trade head Monday. The comments come just 2 days before the US is due to impose tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports. European Trade Commissioner Maros Sefcovic.
I travelled to US last month. I was seeking constructive dialogue to avoid the unnecessary pain of measures and countermeasures. We jointly identified a few areas that would allow us to move forward by fostering mutual benefits. But in the end, as it said, one hand cannot clap. The US administration does not seem to be engaging to make a deal.
He further said the EU was ready for constructive engagement. He added nobody wins from tariffs and that partners with $1.7 trillion of mutual trade should be extremely careful.
We will always protect European businesses, workers and consumers from unjustified tariffs. I think we've been very clear about it, and we know that they expect no less from us.
Markets have been rocked by the US imposing numerous tariffs since Trump's return as president earlier this year. The US put 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada last week, and Washington also placed fresh duties on Chinese goods.
Greenland's parliamentary election on March 11th is seen by many residents as the most critical in the island's history. A semi-autonomous territory of Denmark, independence has become a key campaign theme after U.S. President Donald Trump expressed his interest in acquiring the island.
I think this is one of the most important elections we've ever had, or that we'll vote in.
Donald Trump is a character right now that I think the fewest people in the world want to be involved with him.
Denmark's ties with the island have been strained after revelations of colonial mistreatment of Greenlanders. While Trump's interest has spurred Denmark to amend the relationship, surveys show the majority of Greenland's population of 57,000 support independence, and some locals see the election as a chance to secede. However, views differ on the timing and the potential impact on living standards. Denmark contributes just under $1 billion annually to the local economy. Trump reiterated his interest in his recent address to Congress and in a social media post on Monday.
And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland.
But a recent poll showed 85% of Greenlanders do not wish to join the United States, with nearly half seeing Trump's interest as a threat. Liv Aurora Jensen is from the left-leaning socialist Inuit Ataqatigiit Party, which rules in a coalition with the Siumut Party.
So maybe we have to turn to Canada and Europe to have collaborations, but it all depends on what he's saying to us and how he treats us, because we are Greenlanders and we don't want to be Danes and we certainly don't want to be Americans.
Vivian Motzfeldt from the Siumut party says Greenland is not for sale, but is open for business.
So if he wants to have more cooperation with Greenland, then he must talk to us. But how he talks, I will say, you don't talk to friends like that. If President Trump wants to be a friend of Greenland, then he needs to change his rhetoric.
The left-wing Nalarak, led by Pelle Broberg, is the largest opposition party and strongly advocates for a swift transition to full independence.
But we also want prosperity and security and safety for our country. And we can see the angle from the other parties is that we have nobody to work with in case of the independence.
Election polls are scarce, and political analysts said it is not clear whether voters will again back the ruling left-wing-led coalition.